or he began saying yesterday, Hashem has prophesied to Moshe what will happen in this event.
Right, and if that is the case, why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu inform the nation of Israel that such thing might happen, but don't panic, everything's going to be okay. At least not the entire details what's going to happen, but at least... Where
do you see that he doesn't do it?
Chapter of this chapter, where it says...
Here it says in verse 13, Vayomer Moshe La'am, Al tiro, don't be afraid, Hityatzu, stand strong, Uru et Yeshuat Hashem, and see the salvation of God, Asher Yaseh Lachem Hayom, not tomorrow or next week, Hayom, it's going to happen. Okay, so let's now begin our shur today. Welcome to our shur Parshat Shavua, Parshat Beshalach. We're 3 days after the departure from Mitzrayim. We're chamushim. According to one meaning we saw yesterday, we're armed. Where we got it, we have no idea. Where we got our arms or ammunition. Number 2, yotzim biyad ramah. We're leaving and going out with an uplifted arm. With all that involved, we asked ourselves some solid questions yesterday. What did we see in Mitzrayim? What do we know that was from the hand of God? To what extent? To what dimension? We have a lot of unknowns. The things that we did see, obviously, we heard the crying of the dead dying there, the firstborn. We received all the instructions for the Korban Pesach. We did what we did. We borrowed. We found favor in the eyes of Mitzrayim. So there are some things we are aware of, but there are other unknowns that we're not exactly aware of. This matter is going to be tested right now. And let's not be surprised or taken by, we're now very saddened to see the reaction of the Jewish people. We're going to see that there are different levels of Jewish people here. Those that could be so righteous and so believing in God. Others that might still have Mitzrayim inside them. And let's not forget, we went through many years of avdut, servitude. Went through many years of hashpalah. Okay, and we were, how shall we call it? We were humiliated by the Egyptians. Our personal psyche, our personal confidence, our self-confidence, our self-image is very low. Let's see right now, as God has hardened the hearts of Paro. We're in verse 9. This is where we got up to. Vayirdefu Mitzrayim achareihem, the Egyptians, after Paro being sure that he can come after us, and we saw him taking 600 what? Of the top chariots, maybe with 3 soldiers or captains on each. These are the best tanks of those days that Paro has. Rechev Bachur, the most selected, the top ones. But in addition, it says Rechev Mitzrayim. I don't know how many others. Another few hundred. Another 1,000. I don't know. Let's say there's 600 chariots with 3 on each chariot. That's 1,800 soldiers. Let's say there are another 3,000 soldiers, just for argument's sake. 4,000 Egyptian soldiers running after?
600,000.
That's just men.
1.2 million.
We're close to 2 million people.
So why are we comparing?
Excellent. Now we're understanding. We're putting into perspective the question, what's going on? Pasuk Tet, by the way, Paro's not a dummy. He's thinking that I don't need a lot of soldiers. Excellent. I don't need any more. Pasuk Tet, verse 9. Vayirdefu Mitzrayim achareihem. They're pursuing the Jewish people. Vayasigu otam chonim al hayam. Now, I don't understand. We're 3 days of traveling. We explained, according to the command of God to Moshe, we started going where? Going back. Vayashuvu. He told us to start going back towards which country? Mitzrayim. They see through their intelligence people that we're messed up, we're getting lost. We're not actually, their commentary is saying that we're not going to serve God. And then they On the fourth day, Paro orders his soldiers, let's go. His heart is hardened. He's able to convince his soldiers to come running with them because of the deception, the military deception that God planned out. Number one, we never said we're coming back. Number two, we didn't take any tzeidah, no food supplies, just some leftover dough and some vegetables, maror. No canned tuna fish, no green peas and carrots. Nothing of that was taken. Sardines also not. I know you like sardines, right? None of that was taken. Plus, any other part of the deception? What was it? Anything else?
Things that they asked.
We're wandering in the land.
We're borrowing their kalim, the Egyptians thing. Borrowing meaning we have to return it. And now, this arouses the motivation of the people. Paro doesn't have too much of a hard time convincing them. Dun, 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 dun. And on day number 4, they start traveling after us. Vayasigu otam chonim alayam. How is it that the Egyptian army, day 4, day 5, day 6, according to Chazal, what they traveled in 3 days, they caught up what we traveled in 6 days.
There's horses.
Oh, one reason could be they have horses. We don't. Number 2, are we running?
No.
Uvnei Yisrael yotzim biyad ramah.
We have kids and women with us too.
And we're going out with a lofty hand. We're not running. We're not escaping. Their interpretation is that we're escaping. Ki varach ha'am. But we're not escaping. We're going. Okay. The end of day 6. Let's read it in the middle of verse 9. Vayasigo otam chonim alayam. We're parked. We're parked. Chonim, machaneh. Do you see the key word? We are now stationary. And they, the Egyptian army with the best captains and chariots, have caught us. Kol sus rechev paro, every chariot and every horse. Ufarashav and his riders, v'chelo and his army. In a place called Al Pi Achirot. Maybe here we will get chirot, freedom. Remember, Paro escorted us until the place called Sukkot. We're really not out of his domain until we left Sukkot en route to Eitam. And he wanted to make sure that he's still in control of us to a certain extent. That's how we explained Rabbi Beshalach Paro. He was sending us out. He's accompanying us. And Paro goes further. Verse 10. Ufaro ikriv. What do you mean Faro ikriv? Didn't it say that they reached us? He's making further efforts to go forward, to get his chariot up front. Usually by the nations of the world, their commanders, their chief officers, Ravid, are not usually up front. But the chief officers are usually in the rear. But now, Paro wants to get it up front as much as possible. Okay. We are Bnei Yisrael. Vayisu Bnei Yisrael et einehem. We turn around. We raise our eyes. V'hinei, surprise, Mitzrayim nosea achareihem. As we're going to be reading these upcoming psukim, I'd like you're my bookkeeper, to count how many times the term Mitzrayim appears.
5 times.
I didn't ask you yet, sir. Do you know that Ravid had a dream last night of Torah? How many times Mitzrayim appears? And apparently God appeared to him and told him that he knows the answer right away. V'hinei Mitzrayim nosea achareihem. We didn't know this. They're traveling after us. Okay. Vayireu me'od. There's a lot of fear. Vayitzaku v'nei Yisrael el Adonai. Which term is used? Bnei Yisrael. Tza'aku does not mean to scream in the Chumash. In the Chumash, litzok means to pray, to open up our hearts. Litzok bitfilah, the Gemara says, quote, ein tza'aka ela tfilah. When tza'aka is crying out in prayer. Pasuk Yud Aleph, vayomru el Moshe. And they, who is they? I don't know. Say to Moshe, hamibeli en kvarim b'Mitzrayim? Are there no grave places in Mitzrayim? Lekachtanu lamut bamidbar. Excuse me? In verse 11 that we just read, it seems to be a claim against Moshe. I'm a little baffled. The pasuk before, we see that they're crying out in tefillah to God. And now they are making a claim against Moshe. Something doesn't sound consistent. Let me continue reading. Maybe we'll see an answer. I'm sure Ari Leib is counting the times Mitzrayim is mentioned. Halozeh davar, verse 12. This is certainly the matter. Asher dibarnu elecha b'Mitzrayim lemor. We told you, Moshe Rabbeinu, saying, Chadal mimenu, dai, maspik. V'navdat Mitzrayim, let us serve, let's get employment. Ki tov lanu avodet Mitzrayim. Me, you see that letter mem? More than. Ki tov lanu avodet Mitzrayim, me, mutenu ba'midbar. Let's go back and work in Mitzrayim. It seems that things are not consistent here, doesn't it? Crying out to God, claim against Moshe. Let's go back and work in Mitzrayim. It beats dying in the Midbar. Wow, this is a big test, isn't it? I think this will prove the point that we'll better understand. This section is very hard to understand. Requires Ramban, Nachmanides, based on the Mechilta, the Midrash Halacha. This is the first encounter of the nation of Israel after their departure from Egypt. We left from the darkness to light, from being subjected to redemption. Here we are, we're dealing with the famous generation called in the Talmud, Dor Hamidbar, the generation of the desert. Wow. The generation of the desert that witnessed whatever part, we don't have answers to all the questions, 10 plagues, hit off with the departure from Egypt, and here we see fear. Here we see doubts. Here we see complaining. What they call in proper English, they're kvetching. They're complaining. Okay? This certainly, as Nechama Leibovitz writes in one of her great articles, certainly the influence of avdut, that we were in servitude, the influence of hashpala, humiliation. Okay? These hundreds of years of exile, with maybe 70, 80 years of hard labor, as Chazal see it, okay, in spite of the fact that we were redeemed by God, we have these questions. Okay? And we thought we're going to see a nation with perfect faith in God. Wonderful trust in Hashem. Yes, we went out to the desert. No Rami Levi, no shopping centers. Zacharti lach, Yirmiyahu says, we mentioned last week, chesed ne'orayich. God, through his prophet Yirmiyahu, praises this wonderful nation that they're willing to go out to a place, to a wilderness, no cultivation, no food, no water. Zacharti la chesed ne'urayich. Okay? Lechtech archarai ma'midbar. You went out after me into the desert. My dear friends, that was certainly a great time. But now we're seeing something which raises our eyebrows. How could it be? And we're beginning to understand the situation is very complex. To believe in God just like this and have full trust is not an easy thing. We're going to need what we call sidrat chinuch, an organized order of Hashem educating us, the nation that's there physically, the soul of Israel, and we today that are learning these events. Yes, we have to go through chinuch as well. So a people that are suppressed, we were beaten, our children were murdered. We said it may be one thing to take us out of Mitzrayim, but to take Mitzrayim out of us, the mentality is another thing. Like we saw, they didn't want to believe even Moshe Rabbeinu inside Mitzrayim. And now, I want to explain what at least the Ramban entertains the idea of the Mechilta, that these psukim are different groups. Different groups. There's one group called Bnei Yisrael, and what are they doing? They're praying to Hashem out of fear. And there's another group that we're going to see they're going to be called Ha'am throughout, although here the word Ha'am does not, yes, it does appear in verse 13. Is going to be a group that has much less faith in Hashem, and including maybe the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude that left Mitzrayim. And they're saying, you know what? We're better off in Mitzrayim, man. They're saying we're better off being buried in Mitzrayim than being buried where? Here. That's group number 2. And group number 3 is saying we're better off working in Mitzrayim than dying in the Midbar. All of a sudden now we can see that the term Midbar is not accepted, is not likened. So my dear friends, what we're learning here is that 600,000 men who have just left a few days ago being servants in Mitzrayim, and right now we just have a few hundred Egyptians running after us, a few thousand Egyptians after us. Okay? Wow. They know our mentality. Our mentality is a mentality of slaves. And notice Mitzrayim. You said 5 times. Is that right? Is that what you counted? Mitzrayim is mentioned 5 times that they're running after us. It's like a few thousand Egyptians represent the empire of Mitzrayim. They don't even need more. These are the representatives of Mitzrayim. Okay? And what are they afraid of? They're going to die now. Lamut bamidbar in verse 11, and in verse 12, mimutenu bamidbar. We're beginning to understand why Mitzrayim is repeated time and time again. Because when we look back and sing these few thousand soldiers, we're clinging back onto, we prefer to be in Egypt. We see our death in front of us. This is what part of the people are singing. They're singing their death right now. Instead of the Midbar being a safe place, the Midbar turns into a cemetery for them. Okay? Aren't we better being buried where? Than being buried here in the desert? The unknown is so great. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't have perfect faith in Hashem. They don't want to go out. They want to go back. Later on, some will complain that we remember the fish, the pot of meat that was in Mitzrayim, the batzal, the onion, and the shumim, and the garlic. And there'll even be a group saying, you're taking us out from a land flowing of milk and honey? Part of the sin of the spies will say that Egypt was the land of Eretz Zavat, Chalav, Udvash. Paradise. So right now, we're understanding that Israel's going through a very tough time. There are different groups. And that is exactly in tune what we explained in our former shiur. And we understand even better why so many died at the plague of darkness during Makat Choshech. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't have an easy job. They're making a claim against him. Mazot, what did you do? They're not even talking about God. It's you, Moshe. So you see that Israel right now is divided into groups, as Nachmanides Ramban explains here. Any questions until here? Mr. Ravid? Okay.
I read in the Midrash why they say the word of Mitzrayim 5 times. The meaning is when you are in love, you mention the name so many times.
That's right.
They were very much in love.
They're still connected to Mitzrayim. Thank you very much. Excellent. We want to go back to Mitzrayim, or at least be buried in Mitzrayim. The reply of Moshe, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Notice, Vayomer Moshe to Renan, Vayomer Moshe to El Ha'am. Doesn't say Bnei Yisrael. Why not? Bnei Yisrael is the lofty name. the higher name, the group that has faith. They trust in God. Ha'am is the lower level of the nation of Israel. The ones that are complaining or fearful, don't have full faith in God. Vayomer Moshe Elam al tira'u, don't be afraid. Hityatzvu, yatziv, stand strong, stand erect. Ure'u, and see it Yeshuat Hashem. In other words, watch it. Do you know what a spectator sport is? You don't participate. You're just a spectator. You're going to see it. You're not going to be participants in it. Ure'u et Yeshuat Hashem. When will he do it? Asher yaseh lechem hayom. Today. Not tomorrow. Today. By the way, if today means this coming night, right now it could be the end of the 6th day. It now is the night of the 7th, as we're going to see. That's what it means, tonight. What's the calendar day tonight?
18th.
No, I mean in the Torah, this event. Is that what you're saying? No.
The 21.
Thank you. Tonight will be the 21st. We left Egypt on the 15th. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The end of the 6th day is the 20. Tonight is the night of the 21st of the month, the first month, the month of Nisan, correct? Very nice. Who? Let's keep on going on in the middle of Yud Gimel. Ki, since Asher Ri'item et Mitzrayim hayom, you see Mitzrayim today, they're in back of you. Lo tosifu lirotam od. You're not going to see them further. For how much further? Ad olam. Never. The end of this section, Adonai yilachem lachem, v'yatem tacharishon. Shh. Cheresh. Who is a cheresh? A person who's deaf. Shh. He's quiet. He doesn't hear. Atem tacharishon. You just be quiet. You just watch. It's going to be a spectator matter. You're not going to be taking any or whatsoever part in the upcoming matters. So, my dear friends, it's clear to us, as we can summarize and say, that right now there is panicking going on. Am Yisrael is divided into several groups. There's one group that has full faith in God, but they're not sitting here twiddling their thumbs. They are praying to Hashem. We'll ask that even further in a moment. And second is a group that's claiming against crying, fear that we're going to die here. I'm making a claim against Moshe. You're at fault. We shouldn't have listened to you. We should have stayed in Mitzrayim. It's a matter. We can't die in Mitzrayim. We have to die here. They see their death in front of us. And another group that's saying, no, let's go back to Mitzrayim. We can work there. We're better off working there than dying in the desert. Bezrat Hashem will continue with this in our next shiur.
You see these same groups in